real threat of fakes.
It's been determined the recording was generated through the use of artificial intelligence technology.
You may not trust your lying eyes or ears. Today, what looks real may not be at all.
Audio, video, imagery, and text have already crossed what we would call the uncanny valley that make it impossible to discern real from fake.
The presidential campaign now in a tug-of-war between truth and manipulated fiction. Who's behind it? And the new national security concerns. This is Scripps News Reports, Truth Be Told. I'm Lauren Magarino in Atlanta, joined by Liz Landers in Washington. What we have seen in the past few months is nothing short of alarming.
Alarming is the right word, Lauren. In fact, it's the word that former President Trump used to describe the capabilities of AI right now to make fake video and audio.
I saw a picture of me promoting a product, and I could not tell. The voice was perfect. The lips moved perfectly with every word. And that's scary, in particular, in one way. If you're the President of the United States and you announce that we have just sent 13 nuclear missiles heading to somewhere. So what do they do when they see this, right? They have maybe a counterattack. It's so dangerous in that way.
In recent months, we have seen even more of this, like a fake audio clip of President Joe Biden telling Democrats not to vote, and another fake audio clip of Vice President Kamala Harris saying she is only in office because she's a DEI hire. Liz, you've been tracking this for some time now at our disinformation desk.
That's right. We launched this desk for exactly this mission, to track what's happening and separate what's real from what's not. I have to admit, sometimes it is hard to tell. I recently found that out firsthand when I myself was deep-faked.
So the first thing that I'm going to show are personalized emails that could be used for phishing or election manipulation or just trying to scare people in general.
Lucas Hansen co-founded the nonprofit Civ AI, which makes interactive AI software that can be used for everything from highly personalized email phishing scams to deepfake audio recordings. He came to the Scripps News office for a very personal demonstration.
So what we're going to do is generate a deepfake image based only off your LinkedIn profile picture here.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay, this is me in jail in an orange jumpsuit looking absolutely distressed, and that looks exactly like me.
Yeah, you don't look too happy right now.
Those pictures are AI created. So is this audio clip. Hansen used 30 seconds of a publicly available sample of me speaking to create this fake audio.
All right, here's the fake generated one.
Sure. Happy to talk about it. Well, voice cloning technology has obviously come a long way in the past few years.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It maybe doesn't sound exactly like me, but it does sound a lot like me. After I told him that my hometown was Tallahassee, Hansen demonstrated one election situation that he's particularly worried about.
What you do is you put in a location, and what it did here is it found a local news outlet.
Wow, yeah.
It found their Twitter profile picture, and this is actually very close to their Twitter handle.
Wow.
So it's their actual Twitter handle with the word live at the end. And it also found a picture of City Hall.
Yes, that is City Hall in Tallahassee.
So I think one of the things that we absolutely need to watch out for is election turnout manipulation. Because in some ways that's a lot easier. You don't actually have to change anyone's opinion on any politically charged topic. You just need to convince them that maybe today they shouldn't turn out.
AI has also made tools for phishing emails far smarter. In fact, the intelligence community confirmed this week that Iran has attempted to infiltrate both presidential campaigns through phishing email hacks. Hansen showed us how these work.
Yes, we have your profile loaded here. Let's click write email. And so what this does is it tries to find something that it thinks you would find engaging.
Interesting. I've been tuning into your work and noticed your deep dive into AI and disinformation. Correct. Given your focus, do you think the current legislative efforts to regulate AI are actually just thinly veiled attempts to control the narrative?
And so The interesting thing about this is it's not trying to get you to do anything. It's not asking you to click on any sketchy links or to send over money or anything like that. But one way this could be used for cybercrime or a phishing attack is hopefully eventually you get curious about who Mike Hayes is. And at some point, your only avenue for finding more information is going to be this signature here. And I'm sure you've seen this page before.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is not a real page. And once you've typed in your password, then now your password is harvested.
The AI presence that you created of me, what is the message or the warning that something like that sends?
There's the specific technology that we're showing. So when we are showing these phishing emails and the deepfake images and the audio, when people are consuming content, they have to know that maybe that isn't real, and ideally they can see some of the tells. Unlike previous technologies where it's one innovation that happened, with AI, we're going to see new innovations happen over and over and over again, which is kind of incredible.
Hansen says that for most people, emerging technology like AI can feel distant and theoretical, but his job is to show the public that artificial intelligence is here now, and it's not just another overhyped tech threat. In this case, it's powerful technology that could even shape the outcome of our election.
I mean, profound just to see how it played out with you and really how close it was, and the fact that the technology is developing so rapidly. I mean, I want to bring Stuart Smith into our conversation now because he's in London, not far from where this happened. Violent protests and riots across England. Dozens of police officers were injured, and this started at the end of July, all because of misinformation spreading online about a knife attack at a Taylor Swift dance event in Southport. Stuart, this is such a stark example of what is at stake here.
It really is. 1.5 years was one of the most recent sentences given to someone not involved in the rioting, but posting on social media, inciting people to come out and riot. This individual was encouraging people to set fire to the housing of asylum seekers. The UK police are at pains to stress that it's dangerous to post information on social media platforms without checking the accuracy of information in order that misinformation isn't spread. And the Director of Public Prosecutions had a warning to people saying that it's very, very serious to post material like this. People may not think they're doing anything wrong, but they are actually doing something incredibly harmful. And it's interesting to look to Pakistan, where the source of the misinformation in this particular instance seems to have come from. The first mention of the fact that this was allegedly an asylum seeker who was a Muslim who had arrived in Britain in July 2023 and had been given a name. All of that information fake, but all shared very quickly around the world. Now, Pakistani authorities have charged that man, the owner of a news site called Channel 3 Now, which Pakistan says profited from creating clickbait stories. That man has now been charged with cyber terrorism in order to the Pakistani authorities say to try and create money from his news website. They accuse him of causing damage to the reputation of Pakistan and creating a sense of fear, which led to many British Pakistanis here in the UK being targeted by the far right.
I mean, and just as you spell out what happened here, you know, and talking about AI and technology and how it's a global situation, Liz, this situation has some ties to the United States and a social media platform that I know many of us use every day. How so?
Lauren, this drew the attention of Elon Musk, who owns X and frequently posts on the social media site. In this case with Southport, he was actually sharing misinformation about the stabbing incident. He shared a post from the leader of a far-right political group in the UK that falsely claimed that the Prime Minister was building emergency detainment camps to hold prisoners from the riots. The problem with this was that it was entirely untrue, but it showed a screen grab of a news headline that mimicked the Daily Telegraph, which is a real paper, and showed a byline of a real reporter, so all this looked legit. Musk deleted his post, but it reached millions of people by the time that happened.
I mean, again, goes to the pace, too, of, you know, one click, one post, and that's it. It's blasted out, and how quickly it can be picked up. Well, Stuart Smith in London, thank you very much. Liz, I know you're with us for the half hour, so stick with me. Looking ahead, A high school principal who was suspended and is now in a different job, all because of racist comments he never actually made. That is next. Welcome back to this episode of Scripps News Reports. I'm Lauren Magarino in Atlanta. In a few minutes, we're talking about AI and whether companies can be forced to act responsibly, or is it simply the Wild West where anything goes, even if it means a threat to humans?
But first, that story about the principal in the Baltimore area, suspended after he was allegedly heard in a recording making racist comments about students. All along, he denied it, saying the audio tape was a deepfake created by artificial intelligence. The investigation found he was telling the truth. But listen to how real it sounded.
You know, I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumb here every day. Between these ungrateful black kids who can't test their way out of a paper bag.
That 42-second recording, again, fake, resulted in a world of pain and fallout. The principal placed on administrative leave, receiving threats of violence, students and staff needing counseling. Finally, 99 days later, an arrest. The school's athletic director was charged with creating that fake audio as the principal was investigating him for potential mishandling of funds. The charges included stalking, theft, disruption of school operations, and retaliation against a witness. I covered the story as it was unfolding along with Jeff Morgan of Scripps News Baltimore. He's with us now. Thank you, Jeff, for joining us. This made national headlines back in April. Jeff, what exactly was the role of artificial intelligence in this case, and how did authorities know that AI was used?
Well, Liz, AI was essential to making this recording here. They had used some recordings from that principal before and came up with some pretty disparaging things that they made it seem like that principal had said. During that lengthy 99-day investigation, the authorities had to go through AI training themselves. They also had to reach out to AI experts. This was the first time they had ever seen something like this. And during their research trying to find something else, they said this might be the first case of it anywhere in the country. The county executive there, or actually the county attorney, said that they're probably going to need to see some legislation at the state level, possibly even nationally, to curb some of this or increase the punishments for artificial intelligence being used to frame someone like this.
And Jeff, we talked about the reputational fallout for this principal when this first happened. What is he doing now?
Well, the principal, he was moved from that current high school to a different middle school still in the district. It seemed like the school district had decided that it wasn't best to keep him in an area where this recording is going to follow him. I mean, he is going to have this connected to this name, his name, even if people have seen that he's now vindicated, that it was a fake recording, it wasn't actually him that said this. People have already, connected him to this artificial intelligence, and it's going to follow him wherever he goes. He is now at a middle school, still in that same school district, though.
Yeah, the implications of this are something that we're probably going to be following for the rest of our lives, how AI can impact people and their reputations. Jeff Morgan of Scripps News Baltimore with a cautionary tale about the immense power of AI and deepfakes. Lauren.
Picking up on that theme about the power of AI, are there really any limits to what companies can do? What if it means a risk of threatening humans? With us now, Claire Leibowitz. She runs the AI and Media Integrity Program at the Partnership on AI and has worked in AI for longer than most of us even knew it was a thing, about a decade now. So thank you for joining us to really unpack this. And I want to start with that question that I just posed. I mean, can companies be forced to act responsibly when developing AI? What kind of guardrails are we working with here?
So lots of government regulators are starting to do just this. There's a recognition that many of the companies who first brought this technology into our cultural consciousness. So there's a reason people refer to it as ChatGPT as being one of the first things that made them realize the power of this technologies play a real outsized role in how it impacts our lives. So this technology has both enormous positive use and challenging uses for defamation, for fraud, for harm. And that means that they need to be doing things like transparency and working with lots of different institutions who think about civil rights and values and democracy to figure out what we need to do to place guardrails on the technology.
Well, AI generation of, deepfake video and audio is getting scary good. Audio is generally easier to create, but the video capabilities are quickly catching up as well. And right now, experts like you are still usually able to detect fakes. Will there be a moment in time when that won't be possible? I mean, when deepfake video and audio is just simply too good to detect?
Mm-hmm. I think so, but I think more meaningful is how easy it is to just create even not that sophisticated, misleading content. What scares me more is the extent to which it will just be so much content pretending to be, slightly uncanny or not, that it will just make the existing version of misleading narratives even more powerful. But I am really heartened by some government action on deepfake porn websites and figuring out some of these kind of lines about things that we don't want to even have to say, is it fake or is it real? But in the first place, say that this is not permissible and we don't want to enable that use of the technology.
Yeah, there's Claire Leibowitz. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. We certainly appreciate it. And next, disinformation targeting two growing groups of voters. What we're learning ahead. There is a new front in the fight against disinformation targeting Asian and Latino Americans. It is a new, disturbing trend. Katia Tubman, also with our disinformation desk, has been tracking. Katia, what have you learned?
Well, communities of color are constantly being targeted by disinformation. They're fighting to figure out what's real and what's not online and on their way to the polls.
This video, posted in Vietnamese on YouTube, says the Department of Justice staged photos in former President Trump's classified documents case.
Bởi vì cái vị thẩm phán Elin Cannon.
It's not true, and it's the kind of disinformation my boy is trying to fight.
All I care is America politics, because it's my kids' future, my grandkids' future, and then their kids' future too.
As a little girl, Boy read the newspaper to her father. Now the retired California grandmother translates political news articles for thousands of strangers on the internet.
And they really appreciate my work because, they want the real news. They want the good information, but they can't read. They can't understand English.
People like Boy are now considered the first line of defense in the fight against disinformation. She's also part of the communities being targeted by false information, Asian and Latino Americans, the fastest growing group of eligible voters, according to Pew Research Center.
So when it comes to something like voting, right, if they aren't able to go to verified or reputable news sources and get that information, they will then unfortunately turn to alternative sources of media.
Disinformation experts like Jenny Liu say Asian and Latino communities turn to these sources because language barriers often block them from trustworthy information.
1 in 3 Asian Americans is limited English proficient, which means that they aren't able to use certain English language resources.
According to Liu, false information that spreads in Asian American communities tend to start off in English.
And then usually a few days later, it then gets translated into Vietnamese, for example, and then it makes its way onto YouTube, or someone will talk about it in a video, and then it'll make its way onto a Facebook post.
This cycle impacts Spanish-speaking communities too. Election disinformation expert Roberta Braga recently tracked misinformation in Latino communities.
What we found actually is that the majority of Latinos are not sure if the things they're seeing are true or false. So there's a lot of skepticism and uncertainty.
A survey from Braga's NGO warns Latinos who primarily speak Spanish show more uncertainty when it comes to recognizing false information. But when it boils down to who sees and believes that information most, Braga says there's a surprising trend.
The people who do tend to both come across and believe the false information the most are actually the people who are very interested in politics.
This false information starts off as a familiar narrative, a story or rumor they've heard before.
One of them, for example, was that elites are conspiring with media and social media to hide the truth from us.
The narrative then opens a pathway to targeted disinformation, Braga says.
That opened a window for people to believe, for example, that people are using vaccines to keep us down.
A similar false claim in Asian American communities.
There's going to be this new pandemic or like a new disease is going to be created in order to push mail-in ballots.
Because of false claims like these, Boy plans to keep up her work at least until the presidential election.
Because everything depends on it. Our democracy, our freedom, our money too. Everything depends on this election.
Millions of Asian and Latino Americans are expected to turn up at the polls and cast their ballots in November. But before they do, leaders in these communities tell me they're working overtime to make sure they have the right information.
Katia Tubman in New York for us. Thank you very much. And in our closing moment together, Liz Landers is back with us. Liz, what is the bottom line here for people who just want to make sure that they are not being fed lies that actually look incredibly real?
Lauren, the number one thing we hear from experts and elected officials alike is that if something looks too good to be true or provokes a strong reaction, consider the source. Many AI-generated images still have flaws, like that example from my story where my hands look weird. So those can be signs that a picture is fake. Also, look for verified information from trusted local news sources or government officials. Unfortunately, this technology is advancing at an exponential rate that is outpacing what local, state, and federal lawmakers can really do to regulate it. So for now, anyone who's consuming content online should remain skeptical of what they see.
All right, Liz Landers, thank you very much. And thanks to you as well for watching. Stay with Scripps News and our disinformation desk as we untangle this web of believable lies, all trying to mislead you. For now, in Atlanta, I'm Lauren Magarino for Scripps News Reports.